Hey guys, welcome to another episode on The Anchored in Christ.
All right, my name is Sheila.
And I'm Dr. Latifat, and we're here to have a conversation with y'all about is love in relationship, is it enough?
I'm excited because I'm not prepared for this.
Is love enough?
Is love enough?
Is love enough? You know, this was kind of prompted by a wedding that we were a part of. You know, I'm not sure when this is going to be released, but this was a couple that almost didn't get married. They were going to call off their wedding, and eventually they went through some communication improvement stuff, and then decided to do the wedding. And I remember seeing them and just seeing the genuine love they had for each other.
Great.
And I just had a moment where I was like, they almost threw this away, even though they loved each other. That maybe love is not enough. So take it away, Mr. Shile.
To where?
Wherever the love takes you.
So, yes, I think there is the love between a man and a woman, and that is all good. That is all by God. God made that kind of love.
Like a romantic love.
The romantic love, for sure. I mean, he establishes Genesis chapter 2. He's like, man will leave his father and mother and, be married to one wife and they shall be one flesh. Right?
No 40 wives.
No,
one.
Not 700.
Not 700.
And Jesus Christ now even took it a step further and said, what God has joined together, let no one put asunder. So that's the love we're talking about. But we've seen over time in our world, like in this marriage you just spoke of, that love is, unfortunately, the one, when it comes to feelings, when it comes to emotions, that love is just not enough. It will not, you cannot take it to the bank, like people would say. At some point, there's a need for more than that, not to counter it, but to enrich it. So what I mean by that is there's some things you have to do. There's got to be communication. You have to keep getting better in communication. You cannot have it all. Like you cannot be 100% in communication. You're always getting better because you're growing, your spouse is growing, and at different seasons of life and with different challenges, you have to learn to communicate better. So yeah, it is not enough. So the question is, what do we do? Number one is communicate better.
So if we're saying that it's not enough, then what is missing? What are the other recipes that is needed to make relationships not work, but to make relationships fabulous? Right.
I think number one is to really realize actually early that it will not sustain you. I think sometimes you can go through life and you're just ignorant of something, but I think couples need to understand that even before they step in, or if they're already married, that actually that feeling, that emotion will not sustain. It is good, it's healthy, it's encouraged, but it will not sustain you because there'll be times when you will feel irritated, you will feel you're just not in the mood, you just feel blank or dry, and you need something else. And that's where, what else do you do? And that's why I said you have to now learn to communicate, for sure, because communication is just, actually that's another word for prayer, but communication is a way of knowing someone, right?
The other thing that I believe is a critical ingredient is respect. Important, critical. And we've had conversations where we've, sometimes like once a year we have a couple, we have couples together and we go through questions to strengthen relationships. And one of the questions we've asked in the past is respect versus love, which one is more important? And the fact that we could even ask that question tells you how important respect is. You absolutely need respect. It's like mutual respect and treating the other person how you would want to be treated, and not treating the other person or speaking of the other person in their presence or their absence in a way that would, dehumanize them, dewomanize or demasculate, like masculinate
All the D's.
all the D's, them, right? Because I think respect is just like a boundary that should not be crossed, in my opinion. So, there is a feeling of love that happens before people get married, but it also has to be nurtured and renewed, right? You have to find ways of continuing to fall in love with each other every day. And it's not just like I love you in words only, but it's in deeds and speaking the other person's love language. But I'm going to add respect to that package as well in terms of like what else could be important. And Shirley mentioned communication, the two-way street, the not just the speaking, but also being willing to hear and not speaking for the sake of speaking, but speaking to be heard in a way that makes it easier for the other person to hear you and incorporate what you're speaking of.
And I would say, and this is something that I know I will always be working on. I think it's always thinking of the other person, always thinking of the spouse before you make a decision, before you do anything, even if it's something casual, even if it's something you just want to chill, relax, go out, whatever. Nothing serious, like always be considerate of the other person. What would the other person do? What should I get something for the other person? Should I even ask the other person? Maybe so always think about the other party, right? It's not like you are in jail and the guard has the keys and you have to always ask, I need to go use the bathroom. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just, and I think it links back to respect, because if you respect someone so much, you're always thinking about, them, how to make things easier for them. I remember there was one time when Latifat started her money coaching, and I would struggle because I had my expectation, yes, that's the right word, was okay, Latifat will help with the cooking, she will help with food and the kids. But I later realized that sometimes either it goes longer, her money coaching, and she's tired, she needs help, and she doesn't need to tell me. And so it took a while, right? And then I realized I have to, what are the kids gonna eat? What are we gonna eat, right? And so it became something that I had to actually remind myself, even to date, right? If she's doing something, she's away, she's doing money coaching, then I realized, okay, she doesn't have to ask me. I have to now say, what are we going to eat? What are we going to? So, and I think that's what I mean by being considerate of the other person.
Absolutely. And it's not just considerate in terms of what you're doing, like core responsibilities, but also just like, because what I tell people is when it comes to relationships, there are three people. There's you, there's your spouse, and then the third entity is your actual relationship. And I literally tell people that your relationship is your first child. If that child is not okay, many things will not be okay, right? If that child is sick, there's no way you're going to be happy. So when it comes to being considerate, when you're considerate of the other person, if I'm more considerate about Sheila and is considerate about me, it serves that third person well. And we know that when that third person is well, when a relationship is as God has designed it to be, it overflows into our own personal lives individually and also as a couple. It pours into our kids, it pours into the people we call to serve, the people like the life we live, literally. It becomes like an overflow of a thriving relationship that's a healthy third party that's in the relationship. So when we're being considered, so for example, Sheila is someone like, if it's up to him, it's just not gonna go out and have fun because it's just happy to chill by himself.
Yes,
right?
That's true.
And I have to hold him accountable and say, babe, go, don't miss your soccer team. Like Sheila could literally like my ankle hurts a little bit. I'm like, no, go with your hurted ankle, go play, go have fun. It's like I don't live. I'm like, go, right? But as much as I want to hang out with him, it's also important to me that he enjoys his life. So being considerate is not just about responsibilities. It's also pushing the other person to have an extraordinary experience. Like when I think about, people laugh at me, like when I with medicine, with money coaching, with writing a book and all the stuff that I've done in that world, people are like, you do so much. And I'm like, Sheila's here, being all cool, calm, and collected. But they don't know
I
that
don't know anything.
they don't know that 90% of the stuff that I do is because it's like literally the one pushing me to go do it. I'm like, babe, I don't want to do it. It's like, it's already done. Go do it. Like, I'm like, I don't want to go speak. Go speak. We'll be fine. I'm like, I want to hang out with you guys. No, go do it, right? And that's because we're accountable, not just to each other, we're accountable to God, right? When I married this man, it's not just a matter of us having a good relationship. My job, one of my job, like my God-given job, is to help him be the man that God has called him to be, right? And Sheila says this all the time, like, he doesn't want to get before God. And God is like, why isn't Latifat the best? And Latifat turns and goes, the man you created. Or it's like the woman that you created, like where iron is meant to sharpen iron. And that's what we want to be even in our relationship.
And I would say to that as well, you will always have expectations, but another key factor is compromise. You always have to learn to compromise, not because you are wrong or not because you cannot have your way, but it also enriches the relationship because it's you actually sacrificing something for the marriage, for the relationship that you have with your spouse. And you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna feel good about it all the time. You're not gonna welcome it all the time. But it's something that you have to, it's a muscle you need to build to compromise and just swallow whatever it is that you would normally, maybe you would rather have your way, but compromise is something that I think we need in our relationship and something that you will need for a long time.
And I think it's important to, I think as a woman, many times when you hear compromise, it's like, now you cannot follow your dreams. Now you cannot pursue that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about maybe like when we had babies and we're both tired, right? Compromising in terms of like what I'm doing versus what he's doing. Like that's what we're talking about. And sometimes it's about saying no to certain opportunities if it's not in line with the health of your relationship. And this is, we're talking about a relationship here where the man and the woman are committed to a healthy relationship. Okay. It's different if you're in an abusive relationship. We're not talking about that. It's different if you're in a partnership or like someone that has like narcissistic personalities. Like that's very different. We're talking about when both parties are committed to making the relationship work here.
I think Ephesians 5, I know we did a podcast episode on Ephesians 5, but I think Ephesians 5 is just something you always keep going back to because it's that part of scripture that as a married couple, you need to read again and again. Husbands, love your wives. What's the example? As Christ loved the church. How? He laid down his life for the church. And then Apostle Paul went into details. He says, the way you love yourself, the way you take care of yourself, the way you shower, or I hope you shower, the way
Sometimes.
the way you brush your teeth, the way you nurture yourself, nurture your wives. Like that's the specific example that God gave through Apostle Paul husbands. And then so likewise the wives too, respect the husband. And then he said something right before he started that whole address to the married couple. He said, submit to one another. So even that submission is actually something that we need to practice in the church, where there is like you are willing to serve instead of being served. And now we bring that into the marriage where we actually are serving one another in the sense of submission. Because yes, the husband is the head, and God created that order because our God is not a God of confusion. But do not mistake it. It doesn't mean that the wife is lesser. Even though in terms of physical strength, Apostle Peter spoke of that. But husbands are to love their wives, protect them, and show respect and nurture, and wives likewise.
Okay. So the question I have for you, if you're listening, is this. What did we miss? What recipe did we miss?
Correct.
I mean, of course, God fearing is important. that's an expected. But what recipe have you found?
We need praying for one another too.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's part of the loving each other. The agape love, absolutely, absolutely. Praying for each other, encouraging one another with words, washing each other with words, right? Like appreciating one another. Like those are the things that ignite love, the love feeling that we're talking about earlier, so that it's every day. It is growing and being renewed every day. You cannot rely on the love from like when you're like 20, 25 years old. That one is expiration date is on it.
It's not.
But you get what I mean? It's an actual continued act of pursuing each other. All right. Let us know what you think.
What we've missed.
Have
tips, please share with us.
Absolutely. And of the things that we've shared, which one are you going to incorporate that maybe you've been leaving behind? So let's see it in the comments. If you're listening on YouTube and if you listen on the podcast, leave us a review. And don't forget to share this with at least one person. We're here to equip, empower, encourage, and just give hope. You know, honestly, I don't know if I shared this on the podcast, but I had no plans of getting married. Like, I didn't want to get married. And the reason why was because the examples that I was seeing around me were not encouraging. I'm like, this is a relationship. It looks like jail. I don't want it. I'm like, I don't want it. Is this marriage? I don't want it. I'm out. Right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I'm grateful to God for was I was fortunate, blessed, and I definitely think it was God orchestrated to see a specific couple, and they showed by living it that friendship was possible in a relationship, that kindness, mutual respect, mutual love, elevating each other above one, thinking more of the other person was possible in a relationship. And honestly, I thank God and I credit that experience and exposure to me being able to even have a healthy relationship today. Of course, I've taken it further by learning, by praying, by continuous submission. But it is so important that people see examples of imperfect relationship that are grounded in Christ, so that if that's what you desire, you will know that you're not alone in this and it's possible. God is giving you all that you need for life and godliness, including examples that you've been looking for.
All right.
Love you guys.
Thank you for joining us, and catch you in another episode.